What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I know I have been gone for a while, but I'll explain where I've been and all that in future episodes. But this episode right here, I want to talk about my thoughts on Mr. Floyd. I want to talk about the protests, the riot, and the looting. If you see, I'm reading because I had wrote some stuff down because I feel like this is important, and I needed to read it I needed to write it down as I thought about it, then try to go off the top of my head. So I put a picture up on the YouTube one day, and I will throw it in the video. I put a picture up on YouTube one day, and I put a picture up on Colin Kaepernick kneeling, right? And some people had a couple of different things to say. Most people talked about how much of a bad player he was. That's neither here nor there. I still thought he was a good player. But then some people went again to think about he was kneeling to say something bad against the flag. If you take your time to look at what's going on, this is what Kaepernick was kneeling for. This was his silent protest. People complain that Black Lives Movement is blocking traffic. We're acting fools in the middle of the streets. He had a silent protest, and it cost him his job. Only thing he wanted to do was bring police brutality against black and brown people to the forefront of the NFL. What I do not stand for, like, I understand people protesting, and I'm 100% with it. I got it. What I do not understand is the looting and the rioting part. The looting part, for me, not to understand, is because of two reasons. One, you turn up businesses in your neighborhood, and then y'all will be the first to say they don't want to bring any businesses to the black neighborhood whatsoever. I was always told you don't allow people to come to your neighborhood and tear up your crap. And I think that's what some of these protesters are doing. There's a lot of people out there doing the right thing. They are protesting. But when you have people that comes from outside of your neighborhoods who comes in, that's when you need to put your foot down and say, you will not tear up my stuff, because for the simple matter is, we have been going through COVID-19 for over 2 months now. So there's a lot of people out of work. Then we get down there and we tear up these businesses who is already struggling. And some of these businesses, they employ our black and brown people. They employ us. Then you just burn that business to the ground. Now you have went right back and added to the problem of that black and brown people are unemployed. The unemployment system is already backlogged. It is already backlogged due to COVID-19. All we did was just add to it now. Just some things to think about. Here's my overall thoughts. I stand with every black and brown individual. Police brutality against black people has been around for years. The only difference is now that we have technology to record it. Every cop is not bad, just like every black and brown person is not a thug. The way we stop police brutality and racial injustice is to continue to peacefully protest and start making our way into the system. It's time for us to run for these official offices. Time for us to join the police departments. It's time for us to get out and vote. If you can march in a Black Lives Matter movement, you can get out and vote. Former President Obama showed us what it means to do the right thing, and he set a standard for us to make our way back to the White House. He did everything right. He wanted change. He made change happen. And we have to do the same thing. He set that standard. He made history. And we can continue to do the same thing as well. The last thing I want to talk about is June. We're moving into the month of June. The month of June is Gay Pride Month. The same way you out there in those streets fighting for rights of black people, you should be the same people out there fighting for rights of the gay black people. You should be out there in the streets fighting for the same rights for the LGBTQ community. You can't go out there and be two-faced and be like, hey, I'm fighting for all black people, but hold up, if you're gay, I'm not gonna fight for you. We should be out there fighting the same way we protest for police brutality. Should be the same way we protest when these trans people get murdered and no one cares. That's called taking care of each other. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. It did get pretty deep for me because some of this stuff do hit home for me. But at the same time, we're still fighting this COVID-19. So please, 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 please be safe. Wear your mask. Wash your hands. And as we return to somewhat I call normal way of living, just continue to be safe out there, people. Talk to your brothers and sisters. Talk to the younger generation. You know, let them know that we're all here for them and we love them. And at the same time, police brutality will not be tolerated in the black community. Nor racial injustice will be tolerated in the black community. Continue to educate yourself. Continue to love one another. And with that being said, I'll see you on the next video. Thanks. Remember to please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. We're still pushing for 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I really think we can do that as well too. Remember to love each other, pray for each other, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Every time I think about those kids, it gets me mad. And by the way, it happens on the streets of Chicago every day. So, we cannot simply turn away and dismiss those in peaceful protest as troublemakers or paranoid. Whether you are black or white or Hispanic or Asian or Native American or of Middle Eastern descent, we have all seen this bigotry in our own lives at some point. We've heard it at times in our own homes. If we're honest, perhaps we've heard prejudice in our own heads and felt it in our own hearts. We know that. And while some suffer far more under racism's burden, some feel to a far greater extent discrimination's sting. Although most of us do our best to guard against it and teach our children better, none of us is entirely innocent. No institution is entirely immune. And that includes our police departments. We know this. And so when African Americans from all walks of life, from different communities across the country, voice a growing despair over what they perceive to be unequal treatment, when study after study shows that whites and people of color experience the criminal justice system differently, so that if you're black, you're more likely to be pulled over or searched or arrested, more likely to get longer sentences, more likely to get the death penalty for the same crime. When mothers and fathers raise their kids right and have the talk about how to respond if stopped by a police officer, yes sir, no sir, but still fear that something terrible may happen when their child walks out the door, still fear that kids being stupid and not quite doing things right might end in tragedy, when all this takes place more than 50 years after the passage of the Civil Rights Act, We cannot simply turn away and dismiss those in peaceful protest as troublemakers or paranoid.
It's not even like that. It's not even like that. It's about staying neutral. That's what's important. That's what's important. So I'm gonna put this nigga, these motherfuckers not staying, goddamn. What you say? He killed somebody? Did he kill somebody? Nigga, that fucking squad did that shit. I get out my motherfucking family. Yes, I see them as human beings, just like I see everybody on this side as human beings. We're all human. This uniform doesn't make him a robot. Just like your uniform, your skin color doesn't make you a criminal.